What's up with it? How y'all doing? Oh, me? Tired. Boy, I'm tired. We just finished recording. I usually try to do one show a week to like keep my workload at a manageable level. But this week's going to be two shows that I'm recording because next week's going to be incredible. We got Jamel Hill. I can't believe we pulled this off. Like, we pulled up from the logo and she pulled up. It's going to be dope. Anyway, so I got another episode I wanted to do today that is like almost like your homegirl sitting you down and say, baby, honey, you know this is done. Them flags ain't getting no redder. Okay, if they any more redder, we be in Inglewood right now. Sweetie, he ain't gonna ever share his location with you. He don't never take you around the homies, baby. You don't know none of them passwords. You ain't never seen his inside of his phone. He don't never post you on his socials. Y'all don't ever go out to places in your city, baby. It's because I think you understand. Now you take all those things individually, and I mean, okay, so you don't share his location. I mean, it's no big deal. Like, it's not like if he was lying to you, it'd be one thing, but like, it's just, you take those things individually and they're not that serious. They're a problem. There's something y'all should discuss. But depending on what you're willing to tolerate, because everybody got problems, but depending on what you're willing to tolerate, I mean, I guess. You had them things together, though. I think you got an ain't shit nigga. We got to talk about our situation here in the US of A, because the flags ain't getting no redder, y'all. Hood politics, y'all. Okay, what do I mean by red flags? I think you know what that means. Everybody's scared to talk about the fascism word, the F word, but here's the thing, guys. Like, I'm gonna do an old people reference. You know, the Wile E. Coyote, chasing the road runner. When he run up off the cliff and then don't realize he just be dangling in the air until he looks and sees it and then falls. Look, you could do your Googles, do your little YouTubes to see what I'm talking about, younglings. Yeah, we there, guys. And I'm gonna give you four categories as to why. Let's be sober-minded. Let's not be rage baity. Like, for real, homie. Like, it's, again, this your homegirl intervention where you like, sweetie, listen, use a baddie. I mean, look, I don't know. I'm not in your business. I just think, like, nah, baby, okay? I made a promise to my child, my oldest child, and sometimes it means she don't be wanting to talk to me. But it's because I told her I will cut it clean for her. Always. I will keep it a buck, which means you could always trust me. Like, when I tell you, like, if you come out, you say, how do I look today? Does this outfit look good? Because I tell you when it don't look good, I'm like, oh no, it's a little weird. I wouldn't wear it, but I think it's weird. There was a little boy she was messing around with, and I kept it a buck with her. I was like, listen, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I can tell you this. You're a side chick. I didn't say it like that, but I'll keep it real with her. But like, again, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm just saying, the math is mathing. And, she spent her fuck around time, and then she found out. And now, that boy is a distant memory. And her little boo thing right now, they doing all right. Now, I know I'm a father, and it's hard for me to say this, but they doing all right. Anyway, we've talked often here too about like the whole canary in the coal mine thing. And at this point, this is why I feel like I got to do this episode. At this point, if you still sending canaries into that coal mine, I think you just hate canaries, because they keep dying. Every canary you done sent in there is dead. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me try one more time. I had a mentor used to tell me, like, hey, listen, it's one thing to walk into a brick wall. Maybe you didn't see it. Now, if you walk into that same brick wall twice, what the hell wrong with you? Right? So, America, I mean, it's literally the name of one of our shows. It could happen here, because what I'm trying to tell you is it did. Now, our Pikachu ain't no Raichu yet, but we here, fam. Now, so I'm gonna give you 4 categories as to why I think we're here. But I want to sober that conversation with the reality of, historically speaking, we not special. This isn't the first time a democracy has gone into peril, or even a cultural regression, a collapse. This ain't the first time this has happened. And not that I'm going to play historical oppression Olympics, but like, you know, we not, well, we kind of are, but we're not actually putting people into arenas to get ate by animals for fun. I mean, we doing it digitally, but we not like actually doing that. I also try to remember what the feeling of the coming of the apocalypse that must have been slave capturers, like what it really means to uproot your life, like in that sense. The terror that those Africans must have felt. The only equivalent I can think of is ICE, which is part of why, outside of the sheer humanity of it all, part of why it frustrates me so much, because I feel like this must be the terror. Maybe not the same, but I feel like that's my closest understanding of it. Now, don't nothing compare to chattel slavery. Don't get me wrong. Don't start sending the emails like, but for you to compare, like, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm trying to say is, like, this is world ending. You know, it's world ending. Again, I want to temper this conversation with the fact that, like, societies collapse, nation states fall, right? There is no guarantee that a nation will be here forever. Hell, there is no nation that has been here forever on our planet. They all develop and at some point morph into something else. This is just what it is, right? But sometimes you got to take a sobering look and just like look yourself in the mirror, have your homies look you in the mirror, hold your little chin up and be like, baby, if he don't treat you the way he should, then let him go. What if it all falls, man? You just got to let it go. Let's see what grows from it, which is, again, the whole stance of Cool Zone Media. Let's see if we can sow the right seeds into what we can become. Now, enough with that flowery shit. I think what I learned entering into my 40s is the wisdom of knowing the difference between what can be worked out and what can't be worked out. I do have non-negotiables, which is part of why I don't be getting into like the Jubilee thing when you get the 29 people sitting around you, right? And you supposed to debate them and kind of stand your ground and like educate those people, because I feel like this isn't worth my breath, because you just trying to get your bars off. I am not going on anybody's sort of, you know, extreme right-wing podcast so I could just be, you know, the punching bag for your content. We don't exist on the same planet. There's nothing really to talk about. Like, if you don't see the humanity in another human being, you don't see us, you already don't see us as equals. So you don't value what I'm about to bring anyway. I am a prop. No pun intended. But just like I'm not just gonna be a piece of furniture for your you know what I'm saying? You don't value what I'm saying. So there's no, what are we talking about? If all you just trying to do is dunk on me, like we're not really we're not really talking. Especially when it comes to like issues of like Gaza. Like, if you can't see the humanity or the lack thereof of what is happening inside of Gaza, I just don't understand what we could talk about. Now, it's a different story if you're making an argument about Israel as a concept. You're making an argument about what it means to be anti-Semitic and Zionist, and like that's a different conversation. But if you're going to have that conversation while not acknowledging the absolute atrocities, the war crimes, the starvation, that is wrong. Like, if you can't, then I'm like, I don't know what we got to talk about. You don't value human life. So like, I just, there's, all ideas are not equal, G. Like, that's like, there's nothing to talk about. Right? We already off the cliff. So even in me making this episode as to what I think these red flags are and how the flags can't get no more redder than they are, I am saying this in hopes of us understanding what is salvageable, what is not salvageable. And I don't know the answers to those things. Like, I'm going to be absolutely 1,000,000,000% real with y'all. I have not existed in this timeline before. Neither have y'all. I don't know what to do. Right? Everything ain't always a one-to-one. I'm just saying, can we just be real with each other and stop talking about like if. Nigga, we here. Flags ain't getting more redder, baby. Let's do it. So there's 4 areas that I want to cover that I think we've talked about these individually, but again, when you put them all together, what I'm saying is like we have to face reality and stop saying like the if. Now, when I invoke the term fascism, I know it's a lot of preamble, but it's very important. Fascism has a definition. Now, that definition is amorphous. That definition is also connected to time and culture. I'm not getting into specifically into that, but what I'm just trying to say is this gumbo that we looking at, whether you want to call it gumbo or not, it got all the ingredients of it, is what I'm getting at. Okay? All the ingredients for your gumbo. I have picked so many metaphors for this show. Let me just get to the content before I talk myself crazy. I want to talk about media, education, law, and culture. And I think that these issues, I put them in this particular order for a very particular reason. And it's not because when you look at like how nations fall into autocracies, there is an order, like in a way that the way that is order is understood. It's there's a lot of studies around what happened in Turkey with Erdogan and the way for which he was able to consolidate power. It went in a particular order. That's them. The reason I put this in this order is because I want to talk about not so much the academic way that historically nations fall into autocracies. I'm talking about the way the culture feel, the way that we notice it. You understand what I'm saying? Like, a lot of times we're experiencing something different than, or not necessarily in the same order for which it was presented to us. Does that make sense? Like, we're perceiving it in a different order. You feel me? You ever been in a conversation, you ain't realized you wasn't listening until the second paragraph? And then with the second paragraph, you kind of finally figured out what they was talking about. Does that make sense? Then you got to go back and be like, oh, damn, that's what you've been saying the whole time. Oh, you was setting me up for this, but you ain't realize it, you know what I'm saying, till step 3. So you experienced it in different orders. That's what I'm trying to say with this one. It'll make sense once I start getting to talking. Here we go. I want to start with the media. Now, I usually hate the term the media because I feel like there isn't one the media, right? There are a number of conflicting, interests pending on the multi-conglomerate corporation, your understanding of the press, your understanding of the relationship that the government has to the press. Everybody feel different about it. You feel me? So I hate the idea of there being a term to describe all of it, but what else we gonna do, right? You knew what I meant. You feel me? So again, how are you experiencing it versus what the actual definition is? Oftentimes are two not so the same things. The reason why I bring up the media outside of, creating something like a Rupert Murdoch or the Fox News networks and stuff like that tend to, that are obviously shelling for whatever right wing, having themselves turned all into a pretzel over Gavin Newsom, which is the funniest thing ever. It really remind me of when you talk to your kids the way that they talk to you, and they're like, you sound lame. Why you sound like that? It's so disrespectful. You like, is it? Is it disrespectful? You know what I'm saying? Like when you try to show the absurdity of something and it's frustrating because they see it, but they don't want to admit that they see it. They're like, man, Gavin sounds. It's even gravel in my mouth for me to like defend Gavin Newsom, but they like, Gavin sounds unpresidential. You're like, really? I think he sounds like the current president. Anyway, we're going to talk about that later. Media. There's been a lot of hoopla made about CBS settling. Now, there was a reason why I didn't cover it. I didn't cover it, one, because I was like, niggas are getting snatched out the streets. I don't give a fuck about Paramount. You know what I'm saying? And the independence of journalism, especially at that level, that's been out the window. Come on, cuz. It's too much money involved there. So to me, I was like, I just don't see anything special for this. Now, that would be if it was the only thing. But if you pull back and you see it in context of everything else, this going crazy. Now, if you don't know, there was this lawsuit that was egregious. That anybody that understands the law looked at this lawsuit that the Trump administration had against CBS, which is a subsidiary of Paramount, right? And the lawsuit was the way for which they edited a commercial and a clip of an interview with presidential hopeful Kamala Harris, where she was speaking on a particular topic. Their argument is the clips were edited differently as to deceive the public as to what she was actually trying to say, thus influencing the election. That those cuts unfairly skewed the perception of the public to who Kamala Harris is. Now, like I said, everybody in the law was like, this is ridiculous. What is you talking about? So the lawsuit was over this interview that was edited, and it was a stupid lawsuit that was nonsense, but but the reason why CBS had to take this serious is because they were trying to push together a merger, a buyout, right? They were trying to sell their company to a company called Skydance. Now, the onlyest people that can approve that is the executive branch. So you got this person who has an absolutely egregious, untruthful, what the hell are you talking about lawsuit happening, right? Now, what's crazy to me is like Paramount has a bunch of different subsidiaries. They got all these different sets. There's like Wikipedia, there's like 79 companies under this umbrella, right? CBS is just one of them. So you could be like, nigga, I ain't paying you shit. What are you talking about? Hell, I'll fold CBS. I don't even care that much. It's not that serious. Or you could be like, I don't need this Skydance deal to go through that bad. We didn't do anything wrong. What you're talking about is crazy. Or you do what the white people do, which is just settle it. The juice ain't worth the squeeze. Let's figure out a way to make this go away. And let's just be done with it. But with Trump, it's not about the money. It's about the narrative. But we know that, right? So Paramount agrees to pay $16 million to Trump, but not directly to Trump, but his future library or other causes. Not him, but they still made no apology. Now, when you pay the dude, whether you say you're not making an apology or not, it feel like you making an apology. It feel like you admitting you wrong because you just paying them, but they paying them to let it go. Now, in a world where gravity still works, it's like, you know what? It is what it is. He childish. He being childish. And I know if I don't agree with you, you're not going to let this business thing go through. So we get it. The only problem is this is about an election. And the dumbest shit about it is it's an election you won. What are you talking about? You know what he's talking about? He's saying it's the principalities of it. Messing with my name is like messing with my emotions. And what he's trying to do is to say, you say what the fuck I let you say. Now, if you was out on a date with a significant other and you was trying to tell a story, right? And you got a partner that as you telling the story keeps interrupting you. You say, I think we was hanging out on Tuesday. Nah, it was a Wednesday. It's like, oh, my bad. It was a Wednesday. And I believe we was going to play spades. No. We weren't going to play spades. You don't remember it right. I'm like, oh, okay. No, we weren't playing spades. We're playing dominoes and I won the game. And you like, pretty sure it was spades, but it kind of doesn't make a difference whether it's Tuesday or Wednesday. It's not even the point of the story, whether you won the game or not. And as a matter of fact, you didn't win the game, but you like anyway. And then you try to continue to tell your story, but every 5 minutes, this person keep cutting you off and saying, and then you get in the car, and then that person says, hey, don't be telling stories like that. You don't like, whatever you can talk to me first before you gonna say something. Do you keep dating that person? Maybe they was embarrassed. Maybe you mature enough to say, tell me about your last relationship. Do you feel like you was the butt of every joke? Do you feel like every time your partner would talk that every story seemed like it made them the hero and you the villain in the story? If that person says yes, then you go, oh, you was just triggered. Okay. I don't like the way you talk to me like that. I feel very disrespected in front of all these people that you was willing to like shut me down in the middle of a conversation. I'm gonna need you to not do that. But I understand what you're trying to say. What you're trying to say is you don't ever want to feel like you're being made less of. I understand that. What I'm not gonna do is run every story by you. Now, that would be the mature way to handle that. But if you live with this person and they pay your phone bill and they pay your car note, you might be tempted to just shut up. But at the end of the day, what this is you letting that one thing slide. You let that moment slide. And when you let that moment slide, what that means is that person always knows, right, that, and this is the hood politics part. There's some stuff that like you got some people you just can't let stuff slide with. Because if you let that one thing slide, there's 7 other things that are coming. Right? So what journalism was saying is like, listen, him doing this is poking his finger in your chest and telling you, watch your fucking mouth. right? Now, me, I'm a grown man. I'm like, you're not finna talk to me that way, right? But if your whole livelihood is built around that, what you gonna do, man? Just tell him okay. And now everybody else is like, so that's basically it. It's like, man, just okay, whatever. Like, and it's like, nigga, you doing that only because you need this check getting cut. But what you doing is you undermining us all, man. Stephen Colbert, stand up. Stephen Colbert, like, hey, homie, you not finna bully me. And I am disappointed with my OGs. I cannot believe y'all let this happen. And I'm not finna play like that. Like, you not finna do me that way. Them niggas canceled their show. So Stephen Colbert gets canceled, right? And he talking about the fact that, like, yo, you saying CBS, Paramount, you saying you settled this off the strength of just being like, I just wanted to go away with, we didn't made no apology, but just here it is, give him his 16 million, we good. But Trump is also claiming that he's getting $20 million worth of advertising and programming. This will happen when you let shit slide. You give an inch, they take a mile, especially when they a man like him. And you know what that leads to? If you follow me again, you let somebody talk to you crazy like that, rather than standing on your 10 toes and being willing to walk away, you're going to hear this episode. You're going to hear another episode next week to where we make a comparison to that and to the South Park dudes who got the fuck you money. They went and got their bag. They played the game. They got their bag. It's frustrating when somebody got that fuck off money, got that fuck you money and don't say fuck you. That's what Jamila's going to say next week. It's an incredible talk. I'm so excited about it. I'm still talking about it because it just happened in real time right now. But like, that's what they did. They got their bread. Now, you could say they compromised. You could say they still took the check. Let me get as close as I can to this camera. Now, I know this is, for most of y'all, this is an audio, but I'm gonna move the mic with me so you can listen. You telling me you wouldn't take that check? Especially if you worked out all of the things you needed for that check to mean that you can make whatever the hell you want to make because you done already proven that your show makes money. You taking that check. Anyway, all that stuff, it makes way for somebody like a Greg Gutfeld, who truly has the worst name on the planet. Like, Gutfeld, I don't understand why your name's so bad and why you ain't changed on. Anyway, let me leave that man alone. That might mean something in another country. Okay, I apologize. Maybe Gutfeld is a name from another culture that I am being insensitive about. You right. He an asshole though. I don't know what else to tell you. Him talking about Nazi this, Nazi that, like cracking jokes. I think maybe we should learn from the blacks. Now, let me pause right there. If ever I hear anybody talking to me or around me and they use the phrase the blacks, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna stop you right there, Chief. I'm gonna go ahead and stop you right there. Let's go ahead and stop this conversation right now. Because everything after that in that sentence is gonna make me want to throat punch you. Because you referring to us as the blacks, I know the next shit you gonna say is racist. I already know. It's gonna be some dumb, the blacks? Yeah, bro. I'm good. Don't finish that sentence. I'm telling you, I'm old enough to know now some things are not salvageable. Everything after that is gonna be some bullshit, which is what happened. He said, maybe we should start learning from the blacks, like how they do with the N-word. Like, we own it. Like, what's up, my Nazi? What's up? Like, he's like, they took the power. They took the sting out of the N-word and they just claimed it as their own as a term of endearment. You trying to take the sting out of Nazi. This what happens. This what happens when you need that bread so much that you let that man shut you up at dinner. Now, I'm saying that while on iHeartMedia, I totally understand. I don't want this to happen, but because I really need this. But I am not Paramount. You understand what I'm saying? Where I'm like, look, okay, if it don't work, it don't work. Paramount wasn't willing to walk away. You got to be willing to be like, you can have all this shit. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, that by itself would be unsettling already, but it's also happening in education. Next. Now, in education, again, the government is suing Harvard. Now, here we go. Let me be real with y'all, because people have positions and preferences. Of course, our institutions will. Are colleges left-leaning? They not as left as I am, but are they left-leaning? Sure. Is there a type of indoctrination? I feel like all education is. It's impossible to not indoctrinate. Don't let them right-wing people fool you. You're acculturating. You think education is neutral? It never's been. It is about being able to function in our societies. Our societies is acculturation. It is indoctrination. That's exactly what it is. There's nothing like, that's not a bad word. The question is, to what end? You understand what I'm saying? Is this a desire for power? Is this a desire to subjugate? Is this a erasure of history? Whatever the case may be, of course there's there. So as someone who may lean right, sure, you can argue that colleges are incredibly liberal and maybe you feel like your voices are not being heard. Partially because your voices be trash, but let me let me not say that. But over, Columbia University and Harvard have ended up settling in the same way that, CBS ended up settling, and they paying the president this money. Now, at some point we have to discuss, which we're going to talk about later, why it's okay for this man to get all this money from these settlements, but while he's president, but we'll put that aside for a second. Now, if you don't know how that case went, during the protests last year, where against the war on the citizens of Gaza, right? All of the teach-ins, the sit-ins, whatever, right? The claim is that, I think we talked about this before, when you weaponize somebody else's suffering. So they borrowed this anti-Semitism. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not like, movements are pure in motives and people. There were probably a number of people there that were anti-Semitic, right? There was probably a number of people there that, at least whether that person meant to or not, felt what it felt like. As a black person, I know that experience. Or maybe this person that's talking to me don't know. It's their intention, their knowledge base was not to be anti-black. Their actions were, whether they meant, or at least it felt anti-black. I'll give you that. Okay. Maybe that was there. But also, this was not the tone of the movement. The tone of the movement was something very different, something that we obviously here on Cool Zone Media rock with a trillion percent. Just like Black Lives Matter and all those things. Of course, these are not perfect institutions, but it is what it is. And what the government came in and said was like, you did not crack down on the anti-Semitism. And if you don't do anything about that, and as a matter of fact, what's up with all this DEI you doing? I need you to start. Them niggas said, actually, this is what it turns into. So I'll get to this. Them niggas said at the end. But the attitude was, I don't like your recruiting. You're not following the laws around anti-discrimination. You are not giving everyone a fair chance. And if you want to keep getting these big endowments for all the other shit you doing, if you want that, I need to see these anti-Semitic things. I need to see these particular things happening. If not, I'm suing you. So what they were saying is they was pulling funding, right, from their science research. Now, as anybody who has any understanding of how we're seen on the globe, nigga, we suck at everything except for incarcerating our own people and mass shooting. But that's the only thing we number one in, except for medical research. Because our country spends so much money endowing the sciences. We have been leading the world for a while. And this man is so full of himself that he gonna shoot his own self in the foot. The one thing we do better than everybody else. He gonna remove the funding. Now, these institutions, they not helping themselves by being some of the most wealthy and elite institutions on the planet, right? They not helping themselves for being like that. But what they saying is, I don't understand how the medical research got anything to do with us cracking down on anti-Semitism. Help me understand what those two things have to do with each other. And you know what? Our children, they have rights, my nigga. If they want to protest, they can protest. They have rights. I don't understand, and I don't understand why none of you talking about none of the anti-Arab, none of the Islamophobic stuff. You only worried about the anti-Semitism, and both the shit was happening. We was trying to handle it all. What that got to do with our science research? Shit. So Harvard clapped back, but the problem is Harvard ain't the U.S. damn government. At some point, you gonna run out of money. So in a lot of ways where I'm like, Harvard, you came back down. You can't let that man put his finger in your face the way that he did to the media. You can't let him do it. But the problem is, as rich as Harvard is, they ain't got government money. We at some point have to start running the school. And listen, if we just say, fuck you, take the money then, we don't need it. Guess what happens? That's less people that get enrolled. That's less scholarships we could get out. That's less people we can invite. That's less, listen, far be it for me to defend the Ivy League, but they trying their best in some ways to recruit in the hood, to get people from other colors, to bring people from the country, to try to diversify. They trying. Maybe they're not doing that good of a job at it, but they trying. You saying they can't do it. So at the end of the day, they had to be like, okay, with this bullshit he doing, it's either that or not enroll these people or raise their tuition. They tuition loud enough. You would say, fuck you, get one of the rich guys to like kick in. You still don't have, you fighting the U.S. Treasury. You got money, but not that much money. So they settled. What the fuck was they gonna do? Which again, you in the car now, he yelling at you, saying, don't be telling stories about me when I'm talking. Like, first of all, you weren't talking. And number two, you remembered it wrong. But he ain't trying to hear that. Right now, he in the car looking at you saying, I don't like the way you didn't defend me when that person made that joke. And you like, that joke ain't had nothing to do with you. That was a general joke. No, it did. It offended me. It's like, I don't understand how that offended you. Ain't had nothing to do with you. But if you live with him, but if he pay your bills, but if he could fuck up everything else around you, he can go to your job and train and change and just mess up stuff at school. And now all this good you trying to do in the world get messed up just because he done hurt his feelings. Baby, get out that car. I'll just give it to him. You know what I'm saying? Okay, I guess you just give it to him. But then the next thing Trump say is, and the administration say, I need to see the demographic information of everybody you try to recruit. Age, race, socioeconomic, gender. I need to see it all. Just so I can see if you doing any of that woke shit. So what you're saying is we can only recruit. Like, here's again, the foot shoot in your foot shoot, killing, shoot yourself in the foot shit. You act like white people don't come poor also. But what you telling me is they not allowed to recruit in certain areas just in case the demographic don't look the way you want it to look. What you saying is these places is too brown. I need to make sure you not doing brown shit. What the hell is it your business who recruit? Right? He made it his business. Now, by itself, That would suck. But put it all together, that flag don't get no redder. Here's more on the education. Now, you cancel NPRs, you cancel PBSs. That's one thing. You cut its funding because, again, you believe some sort of lie about how when somebody tell you what actually happened in history, it means they leftist, which is funny to me. Oh, that's liberal talk. No, it's kind of just what happened. Anyway, so you believe that, hey, it's only a percentage. Now we got to listen to the NPR people asking us for more money. I get it, right? But the people trying to get themselves in position to replace PBS is Prager University. You may have heard of Dennis Prager. I know if you listen to any of our other shows or even to Even More News, they did a whole thing on Prager University, how this nigga be making shit up. The big one that's going around the social media now is this clip where they're trying to explain to children slavery, that it really wasn't that bad, right? And that is being taken as a slave better than being killed? No. So before you judge, ask yourself, what did the culture and the society of the time treat as no big deal? You understand that? Do you understand what he's trying to do? Right? Like, that's just one. You go through the different pieces of these stories about American past, which here's what's even more frustrating is if you're a person of color, you already feel like the origin stories of the country that we learn in elementary school is already wrong. Thank God for PBS. Because I know them books wasn't telling us. Lucky for me, I had a Black Panther father. So there was a lot of stuff that I could listen to the teacher and go wrong. You know what I'm saying? But this, however, it's like, it's almost laughable. Where it's like, surely you can't be, surely you're not trying to suggest that maybe slavery wasn't that bad, which I think is what they're trying to access. You know what that leads to? That leads to that lady on CNN last week talking about, only 2% of white people owned slaves. Okay. Let's just say that stat was accurate and not misleading. Saying that makes it okay? Is this you trying to say that racism don't exist and that it didn't exist back then? And that the majority of white people were not for this sort of race? Is that, I'm not even going to get into how you completely skewing those numbers. Or the fact that white people still benefited from slavery. I'm not even going to get into that. I'm saying, is the point you trying to make that racism wasn't that bad? It's not as bad as we say it was? Is that your point? Because if that's your point, our conversation's over. Because some things are not salvageable. That flag is so red. Which is what's so egregious about this attack on education, is because it come at it from every angle. It's either, no, that's not how it went, or okay, that's how it went, but it wasn't that bad. Right? You know what that is? Nazi shit. Now, the law. As there are federal agents inside of Washington, D.C. right now, and ICE agents all over Southern California, federal, as National Guard comes into our streets, as them fools tried to bring the Marines, it would be easy to consider this like a Gustavo. But the reality is, It's not as Gustavo as much as it is secret police. Let me talk to you. Okay. Again, history is never a one for one, right? Now, but not for nothing. Before the Nazis went full gas chamber, the Department of Jewish Affairs, that was a thing, used to send letters to quote unquote immigrants for them to report to immigration offices to check their visas. And when they got there, they would just arrest them and deport them or put them in holding cells. But sure, ICE is nothing like that. Here's the thing. Numbnuts. Okay, I'm not talking about, I shouldn't call you that, but that's the worst I would call a person. If it were about lazy, non-working criminals, why are you going to job locations to capture people? If it was about the fact that immigrants don't pay taxes, why are you going to the IRS to get information? That don't, if it was about the fact that they don't follow the law and they're here illegal, taking advantage of the system, why would you capture them at the courthouse? You just went to get working, tax-paying people trying to follow the rules. I know that because that's where you capturing them. So what is you talking about? You playing with me in my face, right? Now, I'm going to read from Lee Morgan-Bresser. He's an associate professor of School of Government and International Relationships in relation at Griffith University, right? Says the politicians or public figures are looking for better historical comparisons. Law enforcement agencies that use the severe tactics, there is unfortunately no shortage of options. You got the Soviet Union secret police agencies, the NKVD and the KGB. It's Iran's former secret police, the intelligence agency SAVAK, which is SAVAK, or East Germany's Stasi, right, to name a few. They're a lot more like secret police. Now, since ICE is technically still bound by constitutional limits, its operations has bared most of the hallmarks of secret police. Now check this out. As an expert in authoritarian regimes, I've studied many contemporary secret police forces and extensively in Africa, Asia, and Europe. And these are the 5 types of criteria. Now, stay with me now. There are police force targeting potential opponents of dissidents. They are not controlled by other security agencies and answer only directly to the dictator. They identify the identity of the members and their operations are secret. They specialize in political intelligence and surveillance operations, and they carry out arbitrary searches, arrests, interrogations, indefinite detentions, disappearances, and torture. Now, like I said, history is rarely one-to-one, but boy, I tell you, in DC, they up there talking about we cleaning up crime. Now, the problem with the crime, and especially crime rates, first of all, is down 30%, like we talked about. And even in that, and even whatever the crime rate, remember I always talked about like crime rates, a lot of times is your felt experience. Maybe DC as a whole has crime that dropped 30%, but you might be out there in Southeast, Southeast. It might be going down in Southeast, right? But you go up to Northeast, you know what I'm saying? You up on U Street, it's fine, right? So it might be concentrated in a particular area, but for you to say that you need to take over all of it, but either way, for you to say you need to take over all of it is already ridiculous. But either way, even if you're not taking over the whole thing, there's nothing about these numbers that say that the police ain't got it covered. Anyway, they told them homeless folk, here's the thing. Check this out. We're going to build some housing for you, which, of course, obviously, look at me. Don't trust them niggas. Of course, they're not going to do that for you. So there's that, right? Then they said, If not, you can go into a rehab center. And if not, we might take you to jail. So what you saying is it's just the crime is being poor. So the crime is not having a place to go. So the crime is just being you. Like, that's the crime. The crime is you, because no one has yet to tell me. Now, houseless people may lead to crime happening, but like my man Bamboo says, if you see someone stealing food, no, you didn't. And finally, culture. Now, this guy, this man is not exactly an icon of fashion. We could say that. But so I'm not saying culture as in the culture. What I'm saying culture is in the idea of wanting to rename the Kennedy Center. I still believe this man's stuck in the 80s, but I know this by him not only hosting the Kennedy Center Awards, but choosing who wins. Georgia Strait, Michael Crawford, Sylvester Stallone, Gloria Gaynor, who's known for I Will Survive. He overhauled the Kennedy's leadership by dismissing all the board, and in the Trump's big, beautiful bill, offers $257 million to the Kennedy Center, which is 6 times what it normally gets from Congress annually. Now, I don't give 2 shits who wins a Kennedy Center award, which means also, why should he? By itself, no big deal. Doesn't matter. But why do you get to choose? It's control. So that same man that won't let you talk and tell stories, that's mad at you when you don't defend him in front of everybody, is also choosing what shows y'all watch, what streamers y'all use. And he don't like you looking at no House of Dragon because it got black dragons in it. You know what I'm saying? Because the Valerians, Viserys and them is black with white dreadlocks. They don't like the new Little Mermaid because it got a black mermaid. By itself, it's no big deal. A little weird. Maybe no big deal. But it seems like you trying to control the media, the police, the schools, and the culture. Sounds like fascism. Baby, them flags is Sue whooping. All right, now don't you hit stop on this pod. You better listen to these credits. I need you to finish this thing so I can get the download numbers, okay? So don't stop it yet. But listen, this was recorded in East Los Boyle Heights by your boy Propaganda. Tap in with me at prophiphop.com. If you're into cold brew coffee, we got Terraform Cold Brew. You can go there.com and use promo code HOOD, get 20% off, get yourself some coffee. This was mixed, edited, and mastered by your boy Matt Osowski, killing the beat softly. Check out his website, mattosowski.com. I'm gonna spell it for you because I know. mattosowski.com, mattosowski.com. He got more music and stuff like that on there, so go and check out the heat. Hood Politics is a member of Cool Zone Media, executive produced by Sophie Lichterman, part of the iHeartMedia Podcast Network. Your theme music and scoring is also by the one and only Matt Osowski, still killing the beat softly. So listen, don't let nobody lie to you. If you understand urban living, you understand politics. These people is not smarter than you. We'll see y'all next week.